flagship event organized by Ojas 14 in association with the DOCC and Sustainability Committee of SPJIMR, along with a very well-known NGO of the country, SPJIMR'S, whose mission is to promote inclusive, sustainable community development by empowering women in low-income, climate-threatened communities and regions. Crowned as the country's 7th biggest B School Fest, Ojas is the flagship management festival of SPJ and Institute of Management and Research, Mumbai. With the participation of 100 plus B schools and undergraduate colleges across the country. This year is about making it bigger and better. From the despair of disconnected illusionary world to coming together in a post-pandemic reality, a promise of change and hope marks the 14th edition of Ojas. Ojas 14 saw a massive participation of over 15,000 students registering for 27 events from all domains across the 3 days.
Talking about Sahyog, Sahyog provides the students of 100 plus B schools all over the country an opportunity to touch upon the lives of certain sections of the society struggling with unique issues. The participants are given a real-life sustainability challenge faced by one of the noblest NGOs of the country and are expected to brainstorm and come up with strategic solutions to solve these issues. This year, Sahyog witnessed a participation from 500 plus students and upheld its legacy of a premier event giving students a chance to work on a real-life case problem. After an event spanning 2 rounds, the first one being the online quiz and the second one being the video submission, we are finally left with our 7 national finalists. It gives me immense pleasure to welcome you all here and witness what our national finalists bring to the table today. But before that, I'd like to congratulate each and every one of you because today is not just about winning. It tells us a lot about a person who wants to immerse himself in the lives of the less privileged and make their contribution from their end for the betterment of the society. So congratulations, guys, for making it till here. I'm sure all the national finalists are now ready to present their ideas to our esteemed judges, who are Ms. Naseem Sheikh, who has been working with the NGO SPJIMR'S for more than 25 years and is currently the Associate Director of the programs in SSP. And our very own Dr. Chandrika Parmar, Associate Professor at SPJIMR, who collaborates with multiple NGOs all over the country and is currently heading the Center of DOCC and Sustainability Committee of SPJIMR. I extend a very warm welcome to both of our judges for the events on behalf of Team Ojas 14.
Yeah, so I'll now be debriefing you all regarding the timings for individual team presentations. So each team presentation would be needed to be completed within 8 minutes. We'll show you an indication at the end of 6 minutes and a hard stop indication at the end of 8 minutes. And the Q&A time allotted for each presentation would be 5 minutes. I wish all the best to all the national finalists from Team Ojas 14. And without any further ado, let me call upon the first team, Team All or Nothing, to present their solution to the judges. All the best, team.
Request the team to raise their hands and then they can start presenting their presentation.
Guys, can you share your screen and start?
Yes, just give me a minute. Is it visible?
Yeah.
Can we start?
Yes, please go.
Thank you so much, the organizers and the esteemed panelists, for giving us this immense opportunity to provide a solution to this very intriguing case study and contribute to the society. Moving on to the next slide. To expand the mission of SPJIMR'S, we explored a total of 5 strategies and gauged them in the following parameters. First, we proposed to partner with SHGs and Gram Panchayats to have a 5-day Arogya Jagruti training for selected women mostly SHG leaders who would return back to their villages as Arogya Nayaks and spread awareness regarding anemia and malnourishment. Second, we thought about a solution where we proposed to tie up with the banking and finance institutes and NBFC MFIs in the rural regions and capitalize on their CSR activities and reach for sponsored BTL marketing campaigns. Third, we thought about a strategy which would include tying up with government hospitals, midwife services, and dispensaries to ensure active and effective participation. We also thought about partnering with other regional NGOs across different geographical areas for extending help and healthy contribution. And lastly, we thought about this campaign idea called as Rakho Khud Ka Khayal by using awareness video content and targeted ads majorly on Facebook and YouTube to target the 700 million Indian internet users living in the rural regions. So, based upon our analysis, we found out that the Arogya Nayak campaign had the highest scores when it came to scalability, differentiation, and feasibility. And although the operational costs weren't that low, but the overall impact was high. So we, in the end, we went ahead with this solution, and I invite Nikhil to explain this further.
Sure. Thank you, Monish. So taking an idea further for the Arogya Nayak, our primary target segments would be the leaders of SHGs and also the members of it. And also the women with at least basic education to know about the workabouts of the technical knowledge of mobile applications. So the main communication challenge that we had was to convince the users that the application would help them develop their business ideas and also how to improve their health lifestyles. For the pilot launch, we decided that we do it in the state of Maharashtra. And to enable this, we had different touch points. We have touch points in which we'll be encouraging field agents and also women ambassadors to promote the particular idea and the application. We'll also be having BLT promotions and sponsored events. We have different campaigns planned too, in which we'll be using below the line type of marketing so that the people in the rural areas can also be very well aware about the ideas that we're going to present to them through various campaigns of mobile van campaigning, also providing sports events. We'll be also having women and child healthcare checkups so that people are really into the idea. They'll be also having extensive knowledge about what kind of idea the application will be giving them and also the benefits that it can provide. Apart from this, we also have Arogya Nayaks, in which 250 SHG leaders will be identified and they'll be giving technical training in a 14-day intensive boot camp. In these boot camps, the different days will be divided in which in the first aid and the basic health knowledge will be given in the first few of initial days. Following which intensive knowledge about anemia and malnutrition will be provided. And then how to grow proper crops using organic farming and also using chemical-free farming. After all these things, personalized training of the Swadhin app, which we're going to present to them, will be given so that they can advocate the particular application. Moving forward, my colleague Dikshant will take forward the presentation.
Thank you, Nikhil, for the elaborative explanation about the brand activation. Now, in order to bring the Arogya Nayaks on board to the SSP, so we actually have proposed an app called the Swadhin app, so which will be used to. It will be a kind of an app which will actually bring the Arogya Nayaks on board, and it will ensure that it acts as an incentive for the active participation of the Arogya Nayaks. So the first incentivizing feature will be the Lekha Vidhi app. It is the smart bookkeeping tool. So it will take care of the transaction records. The day-to-day transactions will be taken care of. The daily statements about the expenses and the transactions being done by the members of the SHGs. So by using all these features, we have estimated that the impact would be that we'll be targeting around 1,500 SHGs to be covered in the first year, which will have a traffic of almost 4.5 lakh on the app. And we expect the outreach to be around 60% to the Arogya Nayaks. Can we have the next slide? So talking about the user-friendly UI about the Swadhin app. So the main features which it will take care of is the visual aid to provide the knowledge. Since as my colleague Nikhil already mentioned that a separate bootcamp will be organized to bring the members on board. But apart from that, to get them updated knowledge about the nutrition, about the chemical-free cultivation of crops, and about the diets that needs to be followed to the women of the pregnant women and the women who are feeding the children. So all these information and the updated knowledge would be inculcated to these people through the tailored training courses and the visual aids through this app. So this app will actually be a platform which will take care of all the Arogya Nayaks. It will bring them and it will form a kutumb, a Swadhin kutumb, which will ensure that the Arogya Nayaks are in constant touch with the SSP. Can we have the next one? To make this happen, we are usually are thinking to collaborate in three sectors. The first being with the BFSIs and the MFSIs. So for this, the first thing which we have taken into consideration, all the companies and the organizations which we will be targeting are the companies who are extremely active towards women empowerment in India. So these companies in the first sector of BFSI will ensure that the financial funding and the aids have been given along with the entire updations of the Lekha Vidi thing which we have introduced in the app, followed by the technical aspects of the app would be sponsored and will be taken care as a CSR initiative through the companies mentioned over there, along with the healthcare collaborators, which will be helping the SSP to come ahead and give the updates and informations related to healthcare and nutrition to the women to ensure that the anemia and the malnutrition care is taken care of. So with this, we end our presentation. Thank you.
Sorry.
Thank you, Naseem ji.
Yes. Hello.
Yes, ma'am. Good afternoon.
Good afternoon.
Ma'am.
So very interesting. So you are trying to connect the rural problem with technology, how we can use the technology. It's very good. But only is the mobile application this will bring the only health health information, health and nutrition information, or other activity of SHG groups?
Team, I would like to take this question up. You guys can take it. So answering to your question, ma'am, first of all, a very pertinent question. I'd like to thank you for the question. With this, this app actually will take care of the nutrition and the malnutrition and the anemic conditions of the woman, but at the same time, initially this app will be designed for the same, but afterwards it can take care of various other hygiene related issues along with the SHG activities, because that will act as an incentive to the people, since the members of SHGs would be incentivized in some kind of a way so that they'll get a platform to ensure that all their transactions and records are being taken care of in a systematic manner.
Ma'am, and adding to Dikshant's point, so basically, I mean, during our primary and secondary research, we found out that maintaining the transaction and like keeping the book on a daily basis, which has become very important considering these self-help groups are also dealing a lot with the banks. So it has become very important to maintain the records on a daily basis, and we thought that if we could help target, like since we are targeting SHG groups for a mass effect, for a greater impact in shorter time. So if we could solve one of the greater problems through this application and spread awareness through this application only, because this is the application that SHG members are going to use on a daily basis, even if they want to split the money the profits they have earned from their business, or like disburse money to someone who's in need of money. They are going to constantly use this application. So if we could use this platform to not just spread awareness about health and hygiene, but also educate women about financial aspects, financial literacy. So that would be great as well. And one more point that I would like to add here is, ma'am, so basically, as Dikshant mentioned, we are going to tie up with the with various organizations who are into CSR activities towards women empowerment. So we actually want to bring these companies in direct contact with these SHG groups on the digital marketplace ecosystem that you'd be seeing on the app. So that also helps increase the business for the women, and like it overall helps increase the standard of living for the women community, rural women community. Thank you.
Okay. So what is our first goal of this app? Increasing the health impact or increasing the SHG capacity to deal with the health, finance, and market?
It goes simultaneously, ma'am, because what we realized was, if we create just an application or just a solution focused on health, it won't be enough to create awareness about health. There has to be some kind of incentive, some application that women, I mean the members would use on a daily basis. And along with that, if we could somehow infuse the awareness elements, that would be great as well. And one more point, ma'am, like the reason why we chose to develop an application, because like developing an application is a huge expenditure, but we thought about it from the viewpoint that it would be a one-time investment, and the only recurring cost that would be required in the future would be the maintenance cost. And that's why we came up with this idea.
Okay, thank you.
Thank you so much.
All right. I'm going to ask a question, Sonal, if I can, very quickly.
No, ma'am, go ahead, go ahead.
So team all or nothing. Thank you for taking the time to put so much thought into finding a solution for the case study that you put out there. Just some observations and just some comments or questions, whatever way you want to look at it. So here's a couple of assumptions which I'm trying to understand. One is the assumption that all the women have access to a smartphone. This is rural India. You're assuming that everybody has smartphone. Second, the assumption that is there is that there's a literacy level and access to a certain kind of language. So that's the second assumption, that going for something like an app-based solution takes. Third, issues of nutrition and food, which deal with anemia and women's health, need behavioral changes and larger social. There are social, it's embedded in social practices. So again, I don't know whether the app will bring about those behavioral changes. I just want to put it out there because just focusing on SHGs and an app without taking into account the larger social, other contexts may not help. I don't know what you think about it, or maybe you did onboard it but did not present it.
Ma'am, can we comment on this particular observation?
Sure.
Ma'am, first of all, thank you so much for that pertinent observation. We did keep the literacy rates and the internet penetration in the rural areas in mind when we thought about this solution.
Access to smartphone for women.
Yeah, ma'am. So actually, that's also the reason why we chose to first target the SHG leaders, who are relatively more accessible to technology and other facilities. And those, I mean, what we envisioned was those will be our Arogya Nayaks, whom we would be training regarding not only the financial literacy or the technology part, how to use this application on a regular basis, but also the health side. That's why, I mean, the name comes, the Arogya Nayaks. And eventually, when they go back to their respective self-help groups, that is when they will inculcate that environment of well-being and hygiene, as well as the whole financial aspect. So I mean, that is how the whole idea came through. Dishant, you want to add?
Yeah, adding to your point, ma'am, I would like to explain a scenario wherein if we can talking about the nutrition, since we will be having a kind of a bootcamp of a 14 days bootcamp, wherein the behavioral change and the expected knowledge, the basic knowledge will be inculcated. But through this app, we actually intend to create a kind of a network which can act as a one-stop net platform wherein the SSP as an NGO would be able to contact with all the Arogyanaks with the updated knowledges, with the various nutrition facts and the things related to anemia and the malnutrition. So these things will definitely add up to the Arogyanaks, because Arogyanaks will be a bit technically aware about these things. And this is exactly what was our thought process while designing this particular app.
All right. I won't ask. I think we're out of time, so I've already exhausted my time. Thank you.
Thank you so much,
Thank you.
panelists.
Thank you so much, team.
Yep.
So can we have the next team, Team Ash? You guys can raise your hands. Yeah.
Yes.
We lost you.
Can you see the screen? And can you hear us?
Yeah, we can. Yes.
Yeah. So, good afternoon, esteemed judges. This is Team Ash. We are from Shillong, and we're here to pitch our idea for Sahyog. Avni, go ahead.
Yeah. So to talk about the strategies, let's first understand the problem that we are facing right now in India. So as you can look at the nutrition atlas that is there, majority of the states here have prevalence of wasting. That is a condition of low weight to height ratio, and which is basically because of the undernutrition of the people present there. So almost half of the Indian women and 44% of the men are either too thin or too fat, or dual burden of malnutrition that has to be addressed right now. And anemia is widespread in every state, and it has increased in married women from 52% to 56% in the National Family Health Survey. Among pregnant women, it has increased from 50% to 59%, which shows that it is a grave problem in India that needs to be addressed. Anemia can lead to reduced productivity, greater infection rate, and slow recovery from illness. Can we move on to the next slide? So talking about our aim, so the strategies that we formulated were to support SSP. And the problem identified by the NGO is malnutrition and anemia, which poses a huge health challenge for Indian women. And the solution supporting our strategies, our identification of such women who are facing these issues, train them and solve them with the help of our Arogya Sakhi. We aspire to empower women to become resilient problem solver, an ecosystem creator, leader, and a relationship manager. And the aim and the strategies are supporting the aim of the organization. We can move on to the next slide.
So a very sharp insight that we captured is that young millennial students from universities and colleges across the country wish to make a social impact, an impact that matters. And they love to share their social contributions by sharing stories on social media accounts, TVs, and resumes. Leveraging the same, our strategy is to generate a large number of dedicated and interested volunteers who are keen to make a change and help our Arogya Sakhis in their mission to go to lands far and wide. In the phase one, we propose to start by states where SSP currently operates, identify top institutes from these states, visit these institutes and corporates for webinars, seminars, plan engagement activities, and inform the potential volunteers about the vision and mission of SSP and invite volunteership. In the next phase, once volunteers are onboarded, train them and convert them into community of youth working for the well-being of nation's women. Once the volunteers are trained, the Arogya Sakhis get automatically time and availability to visit other states and NGOs and collaborate with them to impart knowledge. In the final leg, the aim is to incorporate institutes and corporates from other prominent parts of the country and expand the volunteer base. Next slide. As far as revenues are concerned, we have a vision to make SSP and the women entrepreneurs financially self-reliant. The strategy to achieve the same is creating a social brand SSP and manufacturing, selling, and merchandise that reflects women power and independence. The challenge that lies here is the requirement of seed capital, identifying women entrusted to be entrepreneurs for SSP merchandise, technical assistance required in various domains like marketing, logistics, financing, etc. To cater to the same, our volunteers from corporates come to the rescue, who impart their invaluable knowledge and time to these women and consult them time to time along with the pool of volunteers from universities and colleges identified. Next slide. This slide gives a bird eye view of agendas and missions of the strategies discussed in the previous slide and how different stakeholders interconnect and are aimed to make an impact towards the women of the country.
So let us now look at the financial impact of the entire campaign. We scourged the product portfolios of several similar organizations who are also running merchandising campaigns to support womenpreneurs and local artisans. Based on that, we designed a product portfolio which involves items like t-shirts, masks, tote bags, diaries, which are easy to produce, have a low manufacturing cost, and can be sold at a higher markup. We then used a platform named as Jungle Scout to understand the sales volume we can expect at entry-level seller ranks on platforms like Amazon, and found that we can generate an approximate revenue of 2,20,000 per month from selling our product. And after subtracting commissions, delivery charges, and manufacturing costs, we're left with little over 1 lakh profits, which can be used as pure funding for SSP. And this will grow only year on year. So basically, the challenges that we are facing here is the dilemma of working for profit versus working for a cause. We'll also be needing to train the women for managing an online storefront, which is an extra task for SSP. Also, alternate revenue and sources and diverting funds for a successful campaign would be needed, followed by the legal and logistical hurdles that come along the way. But the way forward is basically we need to incorporate a sensitizing tone and a sense of greater good. And through this, we want to motivate the women to become self-reliant rather than relying on donations or any other external funds. And we want to leverage the enthusiasm of young, bright IIT, IIMs, and other institute students through virtual meetups and train and induct these volunteers to help the women. The social impacts of our campaign, for a short-term outcomes, we are improving the reach of SSP in the 7 states that it operates. We are enabling a fund-generating mechanism for SSP and improving the social media and visibility and engagement for SSP. While for a long-term outcome, we are looking for getting the youth of India more involved and interested in social work. We are aiming a nationwide presence and visibility of SSP, making SSP completely self-reliant and improving the quality of life of women through sustained reduction of poverty and improved health of women. Yeah, so this is basically a short 1-year plan for our timeline for our campaigns. And for our midterm goals, we are planning on reaching around 30 plus institutions for Project Saheli. And we are planning on building a portfolio of around 10 to 15 plus products and growing the sales on our online platforms. As for a long-term goal, we are planning on involving as an organization with a nationwide presence and becoming completely self-reliant in our mission. Thank you.
Naseemji?
Yes, the presentation is very good, but still, I have one question about, like, we are thinking of SSP should do the production and then go into the market and all. But our, if you can see the our legal problems in India, NGOs cannot sell the products. So how you can think SSP will become self-reliant by selling the product, and how we can balance the campaign which we want to eradicate anemia and malnutrition in India. So that is my worry about, yeah.
Yes, sir. Thank you, ma'am, for your feedback. Actually, yes, this question came into our minds as well. But when we were researching for the products that we want to sell, we came across several such initiatives and NGOs. Like there's an NGO called Trishul. There's an NGO called Paces Craft, which are enlisting the help of such self-help groups of women and enabling them to produce handicrafts and small items like this. And on their online platforms, like Trishul has a website where you can buy these products from the women. In fact, when I went to Ranchi recently on a visit, I came across another NGO which is selling the handicraft, the local Dokra handicraft and the local handicraft produced by tribals in Jharkhand. And they are selling these in big cities, in Ranchis and in big stalls as well. So we thought that the legal problems and the legal barriers should not be that big of an issue in that case.
Okay. Yes, but maybe they form different entities within the NGO to do these activities. Maybe that can be possible.
Yes, ma'am. Actually, we'll need to further research on the legality of this.
Yes, legality of the
yes.
sales. But your research on the problem side is very good, and I appreciate you went deeply in the research part, and the solution is also very applicable, which SSP is trying to do. So there is more possibilities to do this work as you are wishing.
Thank you, ma'am.
Chandrika ma'am, you can go ahead.
So Team Asha, Avni, Soham and Arzu, thank you for that presentation. I mean, you contextualized it well, as Naseemji said, if you contextualize it well. You looked at the ecosystem around which the whole debate of anemia and malnutrition is being talked about, and you did some background research also on SSP and the domains around and the states where it is operating. But I think your ideas were interesting, but I'm just trying to understand, and I'm just trying to think. Some of the solutions you proposed were in terms of top-down, where you're talking of SSP building linkages with institutions in different states, which is basically management and business schools, and then creating a merchandise. And as Naseemji said, that's quite a task to create that merchandise, and then to push it out and then create an empowerment for women. So it's been seen that invariably there's normally not always a linkage between things like anemia or malnutrition and financials, not always. So I'm just trying to understand how are you going to create those, again, the last team also, how are you going to bring about behavioral changes, how are you a certain understanding about what entails in creating better health for women. How do you create those ecosystems? I think that's still something I'm trying to understand, one of the challenges from your presentation.
Ma'am, so every college, every institute, every university have different cells in their colleges. We have Rotaract, we have entrepreneurship cells. So people in these cells are the ones who already have a little background in there and are literally interested in making their impact in the society. So it's not just about financials, it's about different domains, be it logistics management, be it consulting. Our own college has an eco-biz and environmental cell. So there are different groups within the college which are aimed towards making an impact in the society. So leveraging their expertise, knowledge, little background is what we're trying to do.
Ma'am, and as you mentioned that there might not be many linkages between the financial status of the person and if the family is suffering from anemia. But on the basis of your research, we found that majority of the cases are such that they don't have money to buy food or nutrition. So if we support them, and if like in rural India, many families are small entrepreneurs and they don't find the right marketplace to sell their products. We can reach them through different self-help groups, aware them about this issue as well, and then also help them financially to buy that food and then be self-reliant and be nutrition.
So Avni, Arzu, I'm just wondering, when you and maybe the other groups also, did you ever think in solution in terms of bottom up rather than top down? What is the land holdings of many of these families?
Team, I would just request you to keep it short. I mean, just be to the point. Yeah.
If you're out of time, we can.
No, it's okay. Just keep your answers to the point.
So I'm just wondering, can you create solutions which are bottom up? That's all. I mean, what's the land holding of many of these families? Our local gardens, our backyard gardens, accessible where you create. So those are just different kind of very small solutions which are bottom up, and where do they fit into the solutions? So just thought there. It's not necessarily that you have to answer it.
Sure, ma'am. That part is really appreciated. And that may be something that we would want to do in the long term when we are collaborating with institutes. When these people like us, when we visit the people there, we can then again think of more bottom-up solutions. The main reason why we are in for a more top-down approach is because we are restricted by our geography. We cannot often go down and visit such people. So definitely the next step would be to formulate more bottom-up solutions.
Thanks.
So I just want to make one comment. As Chandrika ma'am, you shared about within our initiative addressing the malnutrition and anemia, we are trying to do both sides. Like short term, we are trying to women should cultivate vegetables in their backyard garden, and they should feed their family to reduce the anemia. And the long term, as the team said about the economic resilience could be bring in the family to build the health resilience. So that can be, so short term and long term perspective can be addressed.
Thank you, Nasimji. It's very, very interesting to hear that.
Thank you, team. So can we have the next team? Team G2P.
Can I go ahead and share the screen?
Yeah, please.
Please let me know if it's visible.
Yeah,
Yes,
it's visible.
visible.
Okay.
Oh.
Just a minute.
Yeah.
Yeah, Polam, you can start.
Okay. A very good afternoon, esteemed panelists. We are Team G2B from IIFT Delhi. Next slide. 43% of the labor force globally in agriculture are women. And in India, 79% of rural women are engaged in agriculture as compared to only 63% of rural men. Yet, when you think of agriculture and a farmer in India, what picture do you get? Invariably of a man. SSP or Swayam Shikshan Prayog is a leading organization with over 24 years of experience in enabling community-led sustainable development. Core to SSP's approach is the empowerment of grassroots women to take on new roles as change makers through an ecosystem of social enterprises. It needs a collaborative effort to unlock the true potential of a model. As was clearly mentioned in the problem statement of the case, that we have to focus on one implementation strategy for SSP. Thus, to further scale up the model and strengthen, we propose SSP to take up partnership opportunities and create an ecosystem of stakeholders for making a greater impact. As you can see in the slide, it will be a three-way approach. Number one, strategic partnership with NGOs. Two, partnering with the personal healthcare companies. And finally, collaboration with institutions in the agricultural domain. The two key challenges SSP addresses are obviously anemia and malnutrition. As statistics tell us, 40% of the rural women face anemia problem with a risk higher in pregnant women. 50% of the deaths in rural area take place due to lack of knowledge and unhygienic practices. Talking about our implementation idea, SSP can collaborate with NGOs like Sukarya and Smile Foundation, who are working towards the eradication of malnutrition and anemia in rural India. They can educate the rural women so that we can actually have a safe and hygiene followed practices in India. Next slide. However, to make this model a success, we must focus on expansion training and monitoring. For this, we have a three-step approach. First, we have to identify the locations where SSP can expand. And to do that, we must onboard some volunteers or interns who can assist in fundraising or even training the women. Also, onboarding of the right people is very important because they should resonate with the mindset, which is very critical for SSP. Finally, it is equally important to train the interns and volunteers as well, so that they understand what SSP does and then they can actually impart the training to the other rural women. Next slide.
So the next thing we want to do is to partner with personal care companies. The idea is about collective impact and building an ecosystem of shared value. We have identified a couple of companies and institutions that fit the bill perfectly for SSP so as to take forward their goal of educating women in the community about their health, especially menstrual hygiene. The Women's Company and Sirona, both of these companies are committed towards driving conversations around feminine hygiene problems. The goal is to engage with these companies as a part of their CSR initiatives and to distribute free samples of their menstrual products after identifying the villages in need for education on the topic. The distribution can be done by means of our Arogya Sakhis. We can also additionally arrange for workshops in local languages by collaborating with these companies. This is a step in the right direction to bring about the much needed behavioral change surrounding the taboo. Titli is an organization that promotes the use of menstrual cups and provides them to underprivileged people for free. The Maina Mahila Foundation, like SSP, provides employment and assists women in developing entrepreneurial abilities. Working in tandem with these institutions will help satisfy the goal of revitalizing rural economies with women at the center of empowerment. Let's talk about the social impact. 60% of women in India in the productive age bracket of 15 to 59 years are engaged in full-time housework. 52% of girls are unaware of the concept of menstruation before they even get their first period. We can work towards reducing these huge numbers by taking concrete steps to raise awareness. Next slide, please. The reason for choosing Women's Company specifically in this case is because of its biodegradable menstrual products. They are made up of 100% certified organic cotton and come in individual biodegradable wrapping that minimizes the impact on the environment. The Women's Environmental Network reports that each year, more than 400 million pounds of sanitary pads and tampons end up in landfills. Reusable menstrual cups, on the other hand, are very environmentally friendly. We can appoint dedicated female employees to manage these partnerships with such companies. To ensure we get impactful partnerships, we propose the use of a social media campaign to increase our visibility. Organizations that aid in providing skills that give employment to women are eligible to receive funds under the STEP scheme and grants in NIC scheme additionally. I would like to hand it over to Mohan to take it forward.
So right now we'll deep dive into the collaboration with institutions in the agricultural domain. So basically, our idea focuses around the women who are actually living in a low income group in a climate threatened areas. So what do we need to do so that their life is made into a better way? So first one is educating about the terrace cultivation or garden cultivation, where since this is already climate threatened areas, so sustainable agriculture is the way which we propose. And for that purpose, these women farmers need to be trained so that they can cultivate with minimum resources to obtain maximum output. So this can be included, like the ideas which can be included into this are home gardens and terrace cultivation. So by having these into their armory, this practice will actually create an alternative income at a very low investment. Also, these women should be encouraged to cultivate crops as per the need and reduce the wastage as much as possible. Also, they can cut down on reducing the harmful chemicals. So what is the implementation plan going forward? So we have identified two companies, Just Organic and Satvika Food Yoga. So these are just two companies to start with. And what SSP needs to do is they have to come into collaboration with these companies, and these companies can actually conduct workshops and training sessions for the women farmers on modern organic farming techniques and how to maximize the output with least resources. Also, what's in it for these companies is that these companies can actually use these villages as pilot projects for their upcoming new launches. So here we have quoted an example where suppose if one of these companies have to test a new crop or a new seed, then they can be actually given for free to these farmers, and they can provide the resources to the women. So these women will be cultivating them, and this will add on to their additional income. So by following these strategies, what are the impact on financial, environmental, and social is that with home gardens and terrace cultivation, women can actually gain additional income. Also, since we are using modern techniques of organic agriculture, the soil quality is generally not deteriorated, so it lasts for more number of cycles. And also the cost which is needed for agriculture, like the cost of seeds and other pesticides, etc., can be avoided. Also, since we are using organic farming, the nitrogen runoff is generally avoided, and the more number of crop cycles can be actually included into the crop. So also, what is there in the social impact is that organic farming, to the help of these startups, can actually increase the productivity. Like if they are, okay. So with this particular techniques, the substantial income of the family can also be increased. And since the youngsters who are following these people can actually be attracted to come into agriculture and take it up as a profession. So with this, we conclude our PPT. We invite Q&A. Thank you.
Nasimji.
You go ahead, Chandrika ma'am. I don't have any question because what I see in the presentation, there is lot of disconnectivity between the problem and the solutions. So I'm thinking what to ask.
All right. So I'll take the first attempt at asking, trying to understand what Team G2B has done. So Team G2B, Gaji, Paulami, and Pallavi, thank you so much for your presentation and taking the time at least to engage with the issue. It's also interesting that you think you've thought about framing the question and framing the response in terms of looking at menstrual hygiene issues and seeing that whether you can come from the peripheries and address the issue of nutrition and anemia in that sense. You hint at the idea of home gardens, but you don't develop it. So that's something that I would really, like to understand. So Team G2B, while there are a lot of, you've talked about a lot of things focused on agriculture, a lot of things in terms of collaboration with different kind of organic startups. I think somewhere in a very ambitious plan, what has become a bit challenging is to try and understand the focus of how do we bring about a change in certain behaviors or the way women would engage with issues which would impact their health and deal with malnutrition. So I think somewhere, I think that's a challenge that probably both I and Naseem are facing here. So a lot of other things there, but I would like to understand a little bit more about that. How did you link it? How do you think focusing on things like menstrual hygiene and issues like home gardens, I can understand, or tying up with big corporations, or going organic will bring about a change in women health.
Yeah, if I may take that up.
Sure,
so yes, ma'am. So as you rightly mentioned, so what was there that in the first part of the case, like when we had the submission, we had actually looked at 5 strategies. But here, as the case mentioned, that we need to look at one strategy primarily and focus on its implementation. And so if you were to ask me and I would to answer in one word, it was like collaboration, because our target is to create an ecosystem of stakeholders that SSP should look forward in the long run. And there we have divided into NGOs, the personal healthcare companies and agricultural institutions. So that is the connect. And then when you say that about the menstrual hygiene, etc. So what we are trying to do is that the network expansion and training part that we highlighted through the onboarding of volunteers and interns is something that SSP can look at. Because what I feel is that right now it is quite it is provided in some of the areas, but in order to spread word about SSP, volunteers and interns can actually play a great role. Maybe when we spread word on the social media, etc., and the companies that have kind of similar goals like us, maybe they are not working for profit. For example, if we take a menstrual hygiene company like Sirona, they are providing the pee buddies, etc., the menstrual cups, etc. But the rural women will also be needing these things equally with the urban women. So we want to bring these companies on board and spread the word out that yes, SSP is an organization that can actually bring forth all of these things, and all these good hygiene practices, etc., can be spread towards the rural women also. Because whenever we talk about such companies, it's mostly like focused on the metros or the tier 1 cities, but we forget that it's like a 70-30 rural urban split in India.
So Palami, it's very laudable that, of course, that you're thinking in terms of the bigger companies thinking of rural women and other things. But I think the challenge is that how does that impact the issue, or how does it address the issue of anemia and malnutrition, which is a major issue in Nanded district in Maharashtra, which is SSP stakeholder, the SHG, the woman there. So, how does that, how would that kind of collaboration, that kind of interaction bring about that kind of, should we change, change?
Yeah, I think Pallavi, if you can take that up.
So actually what we thought here was that when we talk about SSP, they also mentioned about educating women and community about health and menstrual hygiene. So at the grassroots, the problem is to bring out a behavioral change in women, right? And I think that is only possible if we look at the problem from all sides. And we thought that this step would maximize the impact and bring about that behavioral change. That is why we included this part. So, yeah.
They've started recording without letting us know. All right, please go ahead. Just pulling their leg.
Yeah. So we actually thought that the overall health of the woman is in the picture, and this will aid in taking a step in the right direction.
Okay. All right. Naseemji, do you want to ask them a question, or should we move to the next presentation?
No. I think I will not ask any question.
All right. Thank you so much, Team G2B.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, team. So can we have the next zero footprinters? Yeah, you guys can share.
Yeah, is my screen visible?
Yes, it's visible.
नमस्कार। हमें बचपन से यही सिखाया गया है कि अच्छी सोच और अच्छी मेहनत केवल अच्छा ही करती है। With this thought, we Team Zero Footprinters are here to present a strategy on how Swayam Shikshan Prayog can progress as an NGO. Before we talk about the main strategy, we would just like to mention that to grow in a holistic capacity, SSP must invest in organizational development such as strategic planning, leadership development, and technology infrastructure. This will definitely supplement the main strategy as well as future growth. This can begin by adopting the Arogya Sakhi program in different cities by collaborating with native NGOs. SSP can begin by providing training to their own staff and officers to further customize the program to the areas that have been identified. This can also provide much needed information, toolkits, and network connections for SSP to conduct self-assessments for short-term and long-term organizational development needs. We have used the Menden framework to give a qualitative depth to our strategy on the basis of economic, social, and environmental parameters. There are two types of partnerships that can be achieved, out of which the scale of impact and complexity of implementation is higher for an opportunistic partnership, wherein SSP can cause existing partnerships and structured leaderships. Social and environmental objectives are met through a multi-pronged strategic approach. Corporate NGO partnerships are complex and challenging, but they can benefit both the corporate and NGO participants. Let us see how. With government cutbacks in funding, nonprofits are looking for alternative income opportunities. Businesses can improve their social and environmental performance and find new market opportunities through partnerships with NGOs. Together, SSP and companies can often accomplish more than they could do alone. There are 6 successful strategies for SSP corporate partnership. The first one is to recognize and value the differences between SSP and the corporate. After all, without those differences, there will be no reason to collaborate. Assign a champion and give them authority and decision-making ability. Make SSP engagement part of the core business. Partnerships should gradually be integrated into the responsibilities of the business units and functions rather than being maintained as a standalone enterprise. Plan for the relationship to evolve over the time. External conditions, interests, and positions will change. Be prepared for and be responsive for these changes. Regular meetings with both parties to assess the partnership's usefulness and prospects can build reflection into the process. An alignment of mission and vision and values is a must. Every company has a vision and a set of values on which it thrives. And accordingly, SSP should select a corporate partner. Trust is very important. Trusting your partner is the key behind forging a successful partnership, such that there is free flow of communication and both parties are able to express themselves freely and debate in a healthy way if any issues crop up. We have also identified the benefits of such tie-ups for both the corporates and SSP. For SSP, the benefits include corporates contribute to organization mission in new ways. It leads to involvement in integrated approach across a wider range of activities. It improves capacity for research, training, and education. And it also increases credibility and leverage with other corporations. It also helps to secure financial support for projects. Effective and right collaborations between SSP and corporations can revolutionize the social development culture.
As most corporates do, we will align our strategy through the FES lens along with the Sustainable Development Goals set out by the United Nations. Now, the SDGs are a bold commitment and tackle some of the more pressing challenges facing the world today. And all of these 17 goals are interconnected, with the achievements in one impact the success for other goals. So when SSP is addressing self-sustenance, managing existing monetary and non-monetary resources, achieving gender equality, and better health for our target group, this will help in eradicating not only poverty, but also help in fostering peace, developing inclusive societies, reducing inequalities, and helping economies prosper. When we talk about SDGs, we try to fit into the programs and SDGs that are widely undertaken by major corporates in India. Doing so will ensure that we increase our connectivity, do some real groundwork, as well as get a chance to strengthen our future growth, making it sustainable. As seen on the screen, we have identified the following SDGs on our slide for our FES impact achievement. Of course, the current role of SSP works in only certain limits of the listed SDGs, aligning with corporates to help enhance and educate women on health and hygiene will have a multitude of impact on the community now and in the future. By also adding a strategy of investing in the organizational development, we also cover something new that the corporates try to achieve through CSR, that is governance. Our sustainability initiatives should aim to be relevant to local, national, as well as global contexts. We need to keep in mind that most disadvantaged economies based on globally agreed sustainable development principles and implement programs to benefit them in partnership with a range of corporate stakeholders. Yes, we'll have some challenges that we'll have to wade through, which I'll pass on to Tanvi.
अब जब इतना करने जा रहे हैं तो मुश्किलें आना भी आम बात है. The challenges that the NGO might face are, first, the regulatory changes. The political scenario in India is very dynamic. It is thus difficult to navigate through the instability to formulate a firm base. Secondly, the lack of cash reserves. According to a survey by Britspan, almost 4 out of 10 NGOs operate in a state of financial stress. Third, the lack of volunteers. In rural India, it may so happen that there are fewer willing volunteers during the expansion stage, as the incentives may not be so high. Fourth, the program grants usually have essential indirect costs that could hamper SSP's ability to pay for non-program expenses. Lastly, the CSR funders may be barred from granting money to NGOs, which can hamper growth. However, moving forward, we believe that the following strategies can be implemented to help SSP grow at a faster pace. First, SSP can expand through multi-year partnerships by searching for trust and funders abroad. This will be able to build a stronger base as a result. Secondly, SSP can become financially resilient by clearly communicating and engaging current and future funders in conversations about their indirect cost needs. Third, by applying for UN recognition, though far-fetched but plausible long-term strategy. This can only be done when the SSP either becomes an NGO of recognizable size or gets attached to a bigger NGO with the same agenda in mind. Once achieved, it will help in smooth transactions and provide more financial stability. In the past, we have seen multiple tie-ups between NGOs and corporates which help us in making our case stronger. We have examples like the Mahindra Group running a program called Prerna that aims to empower Indian women in agriculture. Prabhat is the Sustainable Community Development Initiative of HUL, Asmita by Jindal Group, which provided livelihood to the rural communities, and ITC, which runs a holistic program known as the Mission Sunhera Kal, promising to establish enabling conditions aligned to the SDGs, and many more. In the end, we would just like to say that कुछ ज़्यादा ख्वाहिशें नहीं हैं, बस हमारा अगला कदम पिछले से बेहतरीन हो. Thank you so much.
Thank you. Naseem ji.
Yes, good presentation, and they took very long vision connecting with the SDGs and addressing the holistic approach to address the challenge of anemia and malnutrition and women and gender. So this is close to SSP's experience, and I think there is a lot of insights from this presentation to take SSP forward in our future strategic planning. The question is like, are we here again, and my observation is there is lot of imbalance between our focus is organization development, or our focus is tackling the issue through this process.
Okay, ma'am. Thank you, ma'am. So, of course, our focus is tackling the issues, but as we started to say, that when we are tackling the issue, it sometimes happens that we are not in sync with how our organization internally is working. When we were researching for the presentation, we found that most of the NGOs falter in organizational and leadership development, which not only hinders them from future growth, but when we give a strategy such as corporate tie-ups, it becomes very imperative that the top leadership of an NGO has that capability to capture bigger clients and bigger corporates. So it's something that works as a second wheel or a third wheel while growing or going ahead in the path.
Agreed.
Should I? It seems you. Anything else would you like to ask them?
No.
Okay. So, zero footprinters, Avi, Tanvi, and Aditya. Thank you for your presentation, and at a very macro level, you're trying to connect it to the SDGs. My also put it a very macro view, as I think Naseem was already saying.
Ma'am, you broke in between. Can you repeat the question, please?
Sure. So I'm saying my challenge with this presentation, as Naseem is very rightly pointing out, is that you present a very macro view. Your focus is largely on the corporate tie-up. SSP is a very respected organization in the space that it works on, and the kind of work it does on no hunger, end poverty is absolutely admirable for many of us who know the organization. But I think they're trying to make a transition from saying no hunger to saying, can we deal and engage with the question of malnutrition and anemia among women? Corporate tie-ups come later, and how, because when you put your solution there in terms of corporate tie-up, in terms of linking up to SDGs, I'm trying to understand how does it really, what are the concrete solutions that your group is presenting in terms of saying, this is how you should action it, so that it engages with the question of anemia and malnutrition, which women and children in that particular district are dealing with, which is, I think, what, if I read the case study, that is what the question just been put out to you.
Hi, ma'am. So thank you, ma'am. So our idea of linking it with corporate tie-ups was because we felt that corporate tie-ups in our country are not just superficial anymore. When we consider groups such as ITC or HUL, they are actually, we can see actual groundwork being done where people are being reached out to, and we can see actual impact going out. So when we say that SSP can attach themselves or approach or offer their services to corporates such as Mahindra or ITC, they can actually align their final policy or their final goals along with the corporate, so that they have that backing as well as connectivity.
SSP,
yes,
I'm sorry to interrupt you, but SSP is not trying to align themselves with Mahindras and the other corporates. What they're trying to say is that we have an agenda, they have an agenda, and it's up to the corporates to align with them to deliver things that they wish to deliver to the communities they're working with.
I do apologize if my phrasing was in that sense, but of course, so corporates do align themselves with because at the end of the day, they want to achieve some SDGs that they have mentioned in their CSR projects, and they try to find out NGOs for the same, and SSP, that is where SSP sets in. So I believe if both of them work in tandem, when you talk about even the micro level of issues, let's just say women health or anemia, any matter for that sort will get easily solved because you'll have women working there at the end. And that's why we said that training of the staff, and that is a very micro level thing, training the staff, making sure that this successful program of Arogya Saki gets replicated in the locations where there is more connectivity and where you can use the corporate backing to get into those rural markets. So we wanted to engage in a very micro level, but since corporates align themselves with bigger SDGs goals, we will attract or we will talk to them in that sense only, a macro sense.
No, I would push you. If we had more time, I would push you to, see how would you really implement it. And this is something, I really want you to think about implementing to bring about certain changes in the communities with which the organization, and I think that is what SSP is looking for. How do you solution at the grassroots level? How do you solution with the communities who are already working on agriculture, working and producing certain kind of crops? Is it about cropping patterns? Is it about growing gardens? Is it about behavioral changes? Is it about such kind of communication? So I think, and this is not just to this, I'm just saying that, so those kind of inputs where macro is important, but tying up the macro to the micro, the bottoms up solution, which then ties up to the corporates, is something that we must think about. Anyway, this is more as a suggestion rather than a question.
Thank you very much, ma'am, for that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, team. So we have the next team, Team Smart Brains. Can you guys raise your hands, please?
Hi, I've raised my hand.
Pankhuri, could you please turn on your video, then we can spotlight you.
Oh yeah, sorry. Hello.
Yes, please go ahead.
Okay. Firstly, thank you so much for giving us this opportunity. Firoza and I will be presenting mainly on the expansion strategy that SSP can adopt to expand into like new areas within India. So these are the 5 strategies that we've presented earlier. Firstly, tying up with local businesses in Nanded itself initially, so that and maybe later on in different regions that you want to expand to, for getting mainly funding, for getting publicity and promotions, given that these local businesses will be very much invested into the operations and the social development of that particular area. And also the fact that any of these products that we want them to know about can be distributed to the very well established distribution networks. The next strategy would be crowdfunding. Given that the people in that particular city are very much invested again in the well-being of their society, they'll be interested in funding. It'll create a brand awareness about what the NGO is exactly trying to do. Thirdly, it'll help in attracting a lot of volunteers, because a lot of people don't just want to give away money. Next would be inviting a lot of guests, again for funding, then for publicity and promotions, and for helping with the events. Now, what we're trying to say is instead of inviting very famous people, why not invite local celebrities or partners of local celebrities, like wives or husbands? That would really help with the relatable approach, to connect with a lot of people. The last 2 strategies that we thought about would be virtual training. Given the fact that we are trying to reduce the cost and allocate appropriate, effectively resources towards creating more trained human resources, to help expand. We thought virtual training would help with covering way more cities and much more volunteers, reduce regular traveling costs of going to each city, checking on and training. And thirdly, it would reduce the onboarding cost per volunteer. The fifth strategy that we thought of was actually onboarding college students who are already semi-trained and they're very enthusiastic volunteers. They will help create brand awareness because they obviously meet a lot of more people. They use social media. A lot of features would help increase brand awareness. And also the fact that most of these students would be business students, tech students, and they'll help make the efficient use of resources for the expansion. So this is what we're going to talk about now, the college student strategy. What we are essentially trying to say here is create a 7-day field trip program after an extensive interview process, and these top enthusiastic students with technical and entrepreneurial spirit will be invited to Nanded to understand how the operations currently take place. They will immerse themselves in the rural life for like just 7 days, which is an extraordinary, opportunity to network with like-minded individuals and also get a sense of belongingness with the NGO. And when they go back to their cities, they can help expand in a much better way. The process that we're trying to put forward is curate a training content. Then you market the opportunity to the college students, which is very easy because there's so many platforms today. There will be an interview process. After that, we'll onboard these finalists, arrange for their field visits, and then we will establish a procedure to review their process while they expand and conduct the operations in other cities. Now we talk about the finance and the costs involved. Identifying the right college students with technical entrepreneurial skills as well as regional knowledge, and then the energy, and getting all of this as an intern would be so much more cheaper compared to getting more full-time volunteers. The cost of program would essentially just include the stipend of these volunteers, which would be the living expenses in a tier 2 city. So it's not that expensive. Next, so a lot of volunteers, if we talk about, would have a lot of opportunity cost towards their time that they dedicate. But these college students have vacations, and they'll be able to dedicate all their time towards establishing a new branch office in their city. Lastly, the stipend and the other costs could be covered by large corporations, which would identify that these selected students could actually be their potential employees. Firoza will continue with the next.
Yeah. Thank you, Pankari. So I'll be covering the environmental and the social impact that this strategy offers. So moving on to environment, so inviting college students from tier 1 and tier 2 cities would mean that they would get a chance to get away from the hustle and bustle of a metro city and really appreciate the relatively slow lifestyle offered in Nanded. Then apart from that, since they get to immerse themselves and really experience firsthand, the experiences that Nanded has to offer, they'll be able to come up with technological and strategic changes and solutions through observation. And during the 7-day field trip that we recommend, the volunteers will not be required to travel far, but within a particular vicinity so that there aren't too many carbon emissions. Next, please. Yeah. So moving on to the social impact, given that there's so many parties involved, of course, the employees of the NGO, the beneficiaries, and also the locals. So when all of them work together in conjunction, that's when the social impact is going to be amplified. So we think that exposing women to these empowered college students would really help them, understand a different perspective and learn about new products in the market, or learn about how to move away from certain stigmatized concepts. And additionally, providing these students with an entrepreneurial experience through these field trips would also give them a chance to get that hands-on experience that they need to grow and solve the social issues that they identify then and there. So the solutions could be very personalized because they could be based solely on their observations at that time. Yeah. Thank you for your time.
Thank you.
Thank you.
नसीम जी,
क्वेश्चन तो नहीं है, लेकिन उन्होंने जो अप्रोच प्रेजेंट किया है एक्सपांशन के लिए, वो मुझे अपील अच्छा लगा, बट उसमें और थोड़ा काम करने की जरूरत है कि वो जो स्टूडेंट 7 दिन में कितना हम लोग उनके साथ कितना इस इशू को लेके उनको ओरिएंट करेंगे, उनका इन्हांसमेंट करेंगे और फिर वो जाके वापस काम करेंगे, ये सब उसके अंदर क्वेश्चंस हैं। तो और फिर वो कितने टाइम के लिए काम कर सकते हैं, इससे एक्चुअली हमारा जो मेन प्रॉब्लम है एनीमिया और malnutrition का, वो एड्रेस होगा क्या? सो मेनी क्वेश्चंस कमिंग इन माइंड। तो लेकिन अप्रोच तो ठीक था।
Should we answer that?
I think it's a statement more than a question.
Okay,
Sure. If you have something to add, you can, Pankaj.
Okay. So yeah, what we essentially thought was, obviously these are students and they need entrepreneurial expertise, like exposure. So what we thought was, if these students could even come for join for an year, come for a 7-day field trip to Nanded, continue with their virtual training throughout, build the branch office, on board many more volunteers, and even if they leave the organization after an year, it is still much cheaper to onboard new college students again, and also that these students will still remain brand ambassadors, so they'll help you onboard more volunteers and still contribute to the functioning.
I'd also like to add to what she said. Ma'am, you rightly identified that we're not sure if the issues related to anemia and all of those will actually be addressed. But we believe that because this focuses a lot on observation and them actually living there, so we believe that we could actually come up with more personalized solutions, and solutions that actually address the problem directly, because it could also differ depending on area and context.
I
Yes,
think she got dropped off. I'll just check once. Yeah, Chandra, can go by then.
Okay. In the meanwhile, I'll just say I'll just put forward some of my thoughts. I don't know, Pankuri and Firoza. I mean, first of all, I must thank you for participating and making this presentation in Sahyog, doing a lot of background work that is needed for this presentation. So thank you so much for that. I don't know how many of us know that actually the issue of anemia is much more in the urban India as compared to rural India. Actually, urban India and urban middle class actually suffers from anemia in a much higher proportion as compared to the rural India, which has access to different kind of maybe, but I don't know what, but basically they have access to different kind of food in that sense. Having said that, I'm just saying, so you try to come to address the problem through volunteers who you think are going to come for 7 days and try to observe. And you're also saying that the volunteers, or the presence of volunteers, will create a social impact, because a woman who are in the rural women will see them and will be exposed to them, and will bring about a behavior. There's a lot of wisdom, and this is my personal bias. I think there's a lot of wisdom and learning in the village, which sometimes we underplay. And a lot of, should we say, different kind of hybrid solutions at the village level. Sometimes maybe, so perhaps maybe, we need to look for solutions which are very local rather than importing them from outside. And because the solutions might just be in the backyard, literally speaking. So, I mean, I would want you to, think about that aspect rather than thinking that it's the most of the change is going to be externally driven, because it's possible because the person who's coming as a stranger and the transient who are going to be there. Of course, it's a good idea that they become brand ambassadors. It's a good idea that there's a conversation that takes place between the, in quotes, the outsider and the insider, with the insider being the rural woman of the self-help group. But perhaps, just perhaps, we need to look for solutions in the backyard somewhere, especially issues related to malnutrition and anemia, because and as women, many women in this group, and almost every group had women, where it impacts women much more. We need to see where is it that we need to solution. Are there already certain behavioral changes? Because sometimes in rural India, the woman gives husband, for then to the children, then whatever is left last is her, right? So there are many changes. I'm just putting it out there. It's not just to Firoza and Pankuri, it's just to the entire group here. So I think I'm just saying that these are the kind of things that we need to look at, think about, and see how do we shift the needle, even if it is marginally. So I'm just putting it out there. But thank you so much for your presentation, because I think these kind of conversations make a conversation possible. It also helps us think. So thank you.
Thank you, ma'am. That was really insightful. And I think you've given us a lot to think about, because you're right. I think first we need to look closer, look at our own backyards for the solutions rather than venture out. So thank you for sharing that.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you, team. So we have the next team, the captivators.
Guys, please share your screen.
Yeah, just a second. Yeah.
A very good afternoon to one and all present here. Very good afternoon to the respected jury member. My name is Yash Bhojwani, and let me introduce myself first. Like, I'm currently having 3 years of corporate experience and 7 years of NGO experience. Like, I'm a faculty there, and my NGO like teaches the crowd, the students who are underprivileged. Yeah, that's what me.
Yeah, and my name is Yuti Talati, and I have my education background in marketing field, and I have my Instagram page known as Menstrumania, which aims at women hygiene awareness. And also I run a startup called Small to Mall, which helps the small businesses to grow.
Good afternoon, everyone. My name is Kunal Mehrotra, and I come from Lucknow, Uttar Pradesh. I am an electronics and instrumentation engineer by qualification and a fresher, and my specialization is in marketing and operations. Thank you. So to begin with, first I'll be talking about what Swayam Shikshan Prayog exactly is. So Swayam Shikshan Prayog, SSP, is an NGO working towards inclusive and sustainable community development by empowering women in low-income, climate-threatened communities or regions. So the 4 key areas that SSP operates in is women's entrepreneurship, energy and environment, women-led climate-resilient farming, water, sanitation, health, and nutrition. So the main focus of SSP has always been to revitalize rural economies and put women in charge. Their approach focuses on building robust partnership ecosystems that empower grassroots women to access skills and entrepreneurship opportunities, financial and digital literacy, technology, and marketing platforms. Now, talking about what the objective of Swayam Shikshan Prayog has been. So it is a non-government organization. It's an NGO, and its aims is to support female entrepreneurs in areas such as agriculture, health, and sanitation. So it also focuses on revitalizing rural economies by putting women in charge. The NGO is able to reach 5 lakh plus women farmers, and has impacted around 6 lakh households with the help of a widespread network of 15,000 women in self-help groups and Sakhi federations. So women play the role of Arogya Sakhis, who are trained to lead knowledge transfers and behavioral changes by improved watch practices, nutrition awareness, farming practices, etc.
Now, talking about what are our findings with respect to Swayam Shikshan Prayog.
It is that women should realize the need to take care of themselves, and the women in rural areas do not take care of themselves. So with the help of Arogya Sakhis, SSP is successful in spreading awareness for this problem of anemia and malnutrition, which is a huge problem in rural areas. So they are working currently in Nanded district, and they are aiming to spread their geographical location. So for that, there are two ways. One is by getting more resources in their team, training them and sending them to other geographical locations. Other thing that they can do is by collaborating with other NGOs in the other geographies and reach to different parts. So currently Kamal Udvadia Foundation is funding SSP, and we all know that any NGO needs some funding. So we need to find more fundraisers. So we have come to solution part, that is we can connect to medical students and medical practitioners, doctor influencers, because they have a unity of goal and they can be more trustworthy and people can trust on such people, and the awareness can be spread through the word of mouth, pamphlets, etc. So with these people we can conduct online webinars, seminars, etc. to spread the awareness about anemia and malnutrition with other more diseases also. So we can tell them that how it can be prevented or how it can be cured by doing yoga, pranayams, by giving some Ayurvedic supplements, what exact nutrients they need in their body and how they should consume it, etc. We can give certified life projects to medical background students so they can work, and also MBA students, so they can work for this cause. For fundraising, we can target some big hospitals and private clinics so they can fund us as a part of their corporate social responsibility. And we can also tie up with certain TV shows, web series, Instagram influencers, and such as we can say Prajakta Kohli, Smriti Irani, etc. So that can target the youth and spread the awareness.
So before moving ahead, if we see the symptoms first, like what is the reason behind, and like how to figure it out whether a woman is facing the problem of anemia. The common symptoms are fatigue, breathing problem, weakness, chest pain, cold hands, and like rapid heartbeat. And this is not a problem of rural, but a problem of both rural and urban cities. So like to make this to make more awareness among the crowd. So these are the strategies what we have discussed till now, and let me put it in a like in an elaborative way. So like the first is the target group. We have to focus like on the target group. Like we are supposed to target the hospitals and private clinics for CSR activity, and we have to make the tie-ups. Apart from that, we have to build and expand the network with the medical student practitioners, and we have to conduct seminars and webinars so as to make people more aware about like what is the common cause we are working for, the whole community is working for. We can also make tie-ups with other NGOs, like the ones who are having this common cause. We can make tie-ups with them as well. And lastly, the employment opportunity we can give to the MBA students, and because we can hire them at a lower salary too. Yeah. So like yeah, this was it, and yeah, maybe move to the next slide.
We'll go in depth into the implementation plan, and we'll follow a holistic approach to improve women's life, not only focusing on anemia and malnutrition, but giving them employment opportunities and giving them skills so that they can be remunerative for themselves, like stitching, making utensils, clay utensils, etc. And for CSR activity, we are collaborating with the big hospitals so that they can fund us as a part of the CSR activities. And we will approach different Anganwadis, which are there in every village, different universities, colleges, hospital management staff, to spread awareness about the particular diseases. And during the seminars, our primary objective will be to spread the awareness and share the responsibility to cure the people from the disease. So we are following a holistic approach to improve women's life.
Yeah, so talking about the environmental impact, first of all, anemia is a serious global public health problem that particularly affects young children and pregnant women. So women realize the need to take care of themselves and their health. This results in women to live disease-free. So unclean fuel use, poor toilet facility, staying in non-concrete house, and passive smoking are the major determinants here. This improves the lifestyle of the women who are trying to take care of their health. The environmental surrounding will be clean. There will be clean drinking water, and there will be cleanliness around, and women will take care of their personal hygiene. So as a whole, the environment, it's an effort to clean the environment around women so that they are able to take care of their health. Most importantly, toilet facility will be good, better quality house will be there. And then again, clean cooking fuel and environmental friendly tobacco smoke. So these measures can help improve the conditions around women who are trying to take care of their health.
Think about the financial impact, we keep some females as the employees who will connect with the benefactors who can fund us. So they will be paid some salary, which will be around 60,000 rupees. And they will contact the big hospitals to do the tie-ups so that they can cure the disease of malnutrition and anemia. Also, we are adding a technology part in this, as we know that rural women are not using smartphone or do not have the internet connection as they are poor women, obviously. So as we are going to the villages,
guys, we just request you to wrap it up soon because the time is already up.
Yeah, as we are going to the villages, we can show them animated videos, and we are having an online application. So this is the financial budget.
Lastly, talking about the social impact, we are targeting the mindset of a Indian woman. Like who the Indian woman is, like they are always there to like help others in the family, but not to take care of herself. So that is the last end motive, is to make awareness using the technology and using the strategies which we have discussed till now, increasing the network, increasing the bandwidth what we are currently having. So yeah, and this will increase the life expectancy rate and the death rate will decrease. So that's our time. Thank you so much.
Thank you so
much. Asima?
Yep. Yes, thank you for presentation. But I have one question. Like through all the 6 presentations, whatever I listen from each solution, we are trying to bring the collaboration from CSR or corporate. Do you think there is any role for government to address these issues, and how SSP has to work or collaborate with the local government, who is they are responsible or not to eradicate malnutrition from Maharashtra or from India? You understand my question?
Is it related to like how government is playing their part in making the CSR activity done right? Is this the question, right?
No. What is the responsibility? Do you feel the responsibility of government to eradicate malnutrition from India or Maharashtra? And what role SSP has to play to engage government to address this issue?
So, ma'am, as government cannot solve all the problems and cannot go to the roots, that's why only various NGOs come up to as a part of their citizen responsibility to help other people. So for that, SSP can collaborate with the medical experts. What I'm saying, what we are trying to say is.
So I think what Naseem is saying, Naseem, can I rephrase the question?
Yes.
So you see, I think what Naseem is saying is, see, in all the presentations, and she's not directing it only to you, is that the larger solutions have come from the CSR end. But government is a major stakeholder in its citizens' health, right? It is a major stakeholder in public health. Anemia and malnutrition is a major public health issue. And SSP, which is working at the grassroots, and of course, at district level, at the state level, how can it, because I mean, and government gets funds, right? There's a Ministry of Child and Women Welfare. There are programs on child nutrition. There are ASHA workers, there are Anganwadi workers, there are many other things that are basically focused on women and child health, right? The thing is, so where does and how can SSP partner with them? Because I think, and it's not a question just to you. I think that's a question that Naseem ji is asking to every one of all the presenters, all the 6 presentations that have been made right now, that instead of focusing on that, can we also focus on that? It's a question rather than a statement, a question rather, or a statement and a question both to all of you, rather than to just the Captivators group.
Ma'am, my view on this is that like SSP will get that fund, like which is there. The fund is already there. But how much fund SSP will be getting to cater this particular problem will be on the past performances, and basis the network we are having, and basis the exact solution what we are having. We have to approach the government in that way, and then things will go in that hierarchy.
Fair point, Yash, because I think what I personally liked about your group was that I think you put women in the center of your presentation. The fact that you put the Arogya Sakhi in the middle of the presentation, and your group at least has put a focus on identifying what the issue of anemia and malnutrition, and also focusing on the implementation. And you put communication as a critical component of that, creating that awareness and bringing about change. For me was also because you put somewhere in one of the slides, you mentioned it in the passing with animation videos and animation videos, and using animation videos to try and create that awareness on issues of malnutrition and anemia. For me, those things were interesting. But I think the question.
Thank you so much, ma'am.
Yes, but I think the question is,
we have talked to various NGOs. We have talked how they are working, and then we have taken ideas from various sources. So that was a good
ma'am, if you can allow us, like we have a primary research data. We have done a primary research, like since in the initial, we have told you that me coming from like different NGOs, like 7 years experience in NGOs, and youth is also conducting sessions now and then. So we have performed this primary research on 28 exact, like these are the workers who are in the NGO field, and these are the women who are from rural and urban areas. So we have conducted and we have made a report out of it. If we can show the primary research report too, so that will, like, our whole process and everything was revolving around those data what we have received.
That's very interesting. As I said, personally for me, find it very interesting. As I said, you put women, your group has put women in the middle, and you put communication and information in the middle. So it's but I think Naseem's question was not to, as I said, just to you, but to the entire set of asking, because somewhere, please keep the fact that government has a responsibility somewhere in your imagination.
Yeah.
Governments have responsibility to their citizens and towards their health. So I think that is what, so looking and exploring those different programs, different initiatives which allow for collaboration with social sector partners to create robust, and sustainable partnerships and solutions at the grassroots. I think that is what Naseem ji is talking about. So that's what the entire everyone here.
We have focused with whom the women can connect more and whom they can trust more.
So that's so we understand. So Jyoti, we understand that. So that is not. I don't think that is the issue. I don't think that is the issue at all. I don't think that is what Naseem is saying. I think she's making a more fundamental point.
We have understood the point.
Ma'am, I think it will be a good idea if SSP is able to collaborate in some way with the government, because then they may be able to touch or reach those areas where they are not able to do their own capabilities and capacities. So maybe the government can help them look up to those areas as well and cater to all kinds of people. So that is a valid point.
Thank you so much for your presentation.
Thank you, ma'am.
Thank you so much, ma'am. Thank you.
Thank you, team. So we have the next team, the Halites.
Just a second. So good evening, everyone. I believe I'm audible.
Yeah,
yes.
Okay, thank you. So good evening, everyone. This is Team Highlights from IIM Lucknow. So here with three of us, Ayushi Agarwal, Rishabh Pandey, and I, Ankur Singh, are here with the case analysis for Sahyog. Moving on to the case analysis. So as most of us just a sec, yeah. So as we are already aware about SWAYAM Shikshan Prayog, which being an NGO working towards the inclusive and sustainable community development, here we are discussing on how to identify the model which will help it to expand its expansion strategies across the country. So at the current model through which the SWAYAM Shikshan Prayog is working, there we have identified that Arogya Sakhis are training people, but eventually in the long run we want to target the target segment that we are having is married women, pregnant women, and women with children under 5. So for that we have identified 5 strategies, those being first being the digitalized expansion. Here we would be leveraging tech as Zoom, Gmail to reach out to the rural population. Yes, we do understand that this is not eventually equitably distributed to the women in the rural sector, but still once in a family, like in a household, there is at least one Zoom connection. So using that we can expand. The second being the regional campaigns based expansion, as a part of which there would be a group of Arogya Sakhis which would be visiting throughout the country and would be using the vernacular language, that's the local language that the people use, in order to deliver lectures and help us introduce people to the outputs of SWAYAM Shikshan Prayog. The third being the influencer-based expansion. Here, the local influencer would be using programs such as Instagram, Reels, Facebook. What we have identified that this type of content is becoming increasingly popular in the Tier 2 and the rural areas. Fourth being the feature phone-based expansion, which is our key strategy here. Here, we will be using feature phones, which are the most widely used communication in Tier 2 and rural areas. Here we will be partnering with local FMs to reach out to our target women population. In the next slide, we have discussed this in detail. And the last being the government schemes-based expansion. Here we will be partnering with local government initiatives to bring synergy in efforts and scale up the impact. Now, Rishabh would be taking over.
Yeah. So before going deep into as to what is the strategy, it is very important to understand why we chose feature phone. Because when we are using feature phone, it is important that we understand our main target segment, which is there in the rural areas who we want to reach out. And it's important to understand the channel through which we can maximize our reach. When we talk about the feature phone, it is important that some of the facts that we have, like in our secondary research that when we're doing, we found that 56% of the mobile phone users use feature phone as their primary phone, and their consumption in terms of the content is twice. And also our target segment whom we are going to target is 72% of females in the rural areas are using feature phones. And we all know the connectivity and the data penetration or the smartphone penetration which is there in our country, though it is expanding, but the target which we are segmenting or the way we are trying to reach are not having enough money to first buy the data, buy the smartphone. So it is important to understand the channel through which we are communicating through them. So since we have established why we have used the feature phone, we will go down, we'll discuss as to what we will describe in our program that we are going to use for expansion. In the regions that we have initially we'll be selecting is the pilot programs will be in Maharashtra and then expansion. We'll be using 2-hour FM programs named Aapki Apni Sakhi, which is a weekly 2-hour FM program, wherein we'll be having various songs and various entertainment channels with them, and wherein we'll be having different people. Like it is important that they listen from someone who is very reliable or convenient for them to listen. They won't listen to very high-fi stars, but they will listen from themselves, who are from themselves. Like someone who is being helped by Arogya Sakhi, who are being held by SSP, will give their testimonials and also various stories, because stories are a major impact to communicate with anyone. So we'll be using regional stars and social activists to come into the program. They help with a podcast regarding the same. We'll have information regarding the malnutrition and the anemia, which are the major challenges, educating women in the community for health and menstrual hygiene, encouraging farmers to reduce their use of chemical fertilizers. And the last, we'll be using the same channel to expand ourselves in terms of enrolling the Arogya Sakhis. We'll be like the user journey that we have discussed here is, they will listen to the FM program. In the middle, we'll be giving them a token as to they can dial on the toll-free number via their phone. They will type the specific input. On the input, there are three things that they can do. First is know in detail about the various topics that they want to listen, like anemia and the malnutrition. Then we'll be giving them how to become an Arogya Sakhi, because there is an aspiration from them. There will be an aspiration from them that if they are being helped, they will try to help. So that will be the second part. And third is the doctor consultation. It is an add-on feature because we want them that to get connected as soon as possible. Instead of going to the government or other things which are very far-fetched, we'll try to connect them very lightly. And the important thing that we have used the toll-free numbers is because we understand that the areas is very the presentation area is very specific to the problem, and then receive the required support. Next, please. Next slide, please. Yeah, so the financials mostly we will be covering. Marketing will be focusing on like 20% will be focusing on marketing. Then radio partnership, training and onboarding is very important. So we will give budget on that. The team will basically look at the central Sakhi, will be central Sakha, then content and training onboarding, because we are mostly focusing on the communication channel. It is very important that why we have chose this particular radio station, because 33% of them are actually listening the nutritional program from this particular channel. We will follow awareness, engage and retain strategy where we will be engaging them. The graph here which is target state which will be expanding will be Andhra Pradesh and Madhya Pradesh, because these are the various areas to which we can integrate. So next, Ayush will be taking forward.
Hello everyone. So now let's discuss the social impact of the program. The main social impact is the nutrition, which is one of the most important focus of sustainable development goals. Here we are, by this program, we are trying to create a behavioral change, which is very much important in the sense that they will be receiving awareness, knowledge, and first change their behavior, and then it will continue genetically in the coming generations. And next would be engaging various stakeholders so that the women themselves push forward to know the information and then try to help other women. And it will help in achieving various equity dimensions like fairness, justice, and inclusion by supporting and giving equal and fair chance to everyone. The roadmap ahead would be will be in phase of 4 months. First would be radio slot association. Next, there will be a pilot check of that radio slot, and the 3 months would be solely dedicated for the training and communication of the Arogya Sakhis. And next, after that, there would be onboarding, and then there will be reiterations of the same roadmap. So the final roadmap would look something like this. In June 22, there would be identification of potential partners for a FM channel, and the launch date would be decided. Then after that, in October 22, there would be finalization of the potential partners and the launch date for the pilot phase. And in March 23, there will be launch of first pilot program, and then in June 2023, there will be full scale rolling out of the program. Next slide, please. Still, after doing all this, there are some challenges which we think can come forward in our way. First of all is the possession of mobile phones among the rural women in our country. Next, it will require a lot amount of strategic support and financial planning in terms of collaborating with local FM channels. And the next would be why there would be a proactive approach from the women's side. Like they have to be very much proactive, and in order to do so, we would have to identify the potential regions in order to start the program, and the program would be customized basis on the feedback and the responses which we would be getting from the first programs. And next, we have thought of sponsoring with local businesses and local grocery shops. They would market the toll-free number and our program so that women would come forward, and collaborating with government schemes and upcoming starters which are being supported by the government. This would be the
team,
solution.
please try to conclude in a line or two.
Yeah, it's done. So thank you so much. This is our this is all what we have thought of. Stay safe and stay healthy.
Thank you.
Yes. This is good solution, and this is a local solution to expand the program. And I think the only I not heard about the financial requirement, how much the money will require to do this project, because the financial is not clear.
Yeah, if I may take that. Yeah. So considering the finance, what we thought is, since it is there are two types of FMs, basically the commercial and the institutional FM networks, that the bandwidth that goes. So what we're trying to do in terms of costing is we can like collaborate with the government, since it's really very focused on solving specific problem. It's not for the entertainment, but it's using an entertainment or communication channel to solve a particular problem. So in that perspective, what we'll be trying to is cover the cost to various subsidies to the governments. So that's why we were trying to look into as to what it can come in terms of the costing. The distribution which I showed was in terms of how we'll be allocating the resources in terms of 100%.
Naseemji?
No, you can go ahead, Santam.
All right. Thank you so much, Helites. Ayush, Rishabh, and Ankur, thank you so much for your presentation. Very granular in your approach. You touch different aspects, and you've tried to go down, bottom up and top down, both ways on multiple fronts. So a tremendous effort. So thank you so much for that. My question, I think, is again back to, Bal, I mean, I understand, you have one group which has looked at behavioral change, you've looked at nutrition, you've looked at trying to create that information flow to see that the Arogya Sakhis are onboarded. You looked at different kind of expansion strategies. But at another point, at one point, it became a lot of reliance on the mobile phone app, which again, and you talk about and you say that there's actually a lot of penetration of the mobile phone. So a lot of research on the rural India shows that many women, at least 10 to 30%, depending on which year you're looking at in different regions of the country, use mobile phone. The phone is still a major issue, right, for women in rural India, because it's a very hyphenated space. So that reliance on or the features of phone, where you're talking about because you actually give a figure where you talk, say the 56% of the users, you give that figure. So I would like to know where you got that figure from. Because some of your strategies and some of your slides is based on that.
Yeah, sure. So when we were doing research,
I think I couldn't hear anything.
Yeah.
I couldn't hear anything.
Yes, just to give a.
I lost you.
Yeah, I believe we have lost Rishabh. So just to add to what Rishabh was saying, so as we were doing a secondary research, so we went through several articles. So this was a program that done, this was a research that done by government. So we read that report. So this was for the feature phones. So the feature phones are the phones that that do not have any internet connectivity. That was the simple, the Nokia 1100 phones that we generally use. So based on those phones, the research was conducted and it was focused. So it was not a recent research, but a quite back time research when the average geo network was not available. So we use that as a research point because we do not have the recent research. So as per that research, it showed that around 70%, 72% of people use feature phones and also 56% of the women were using feature phones. Apart from that, what it basically showed that they were consuming 2x the content of the content consumed compared content to the people using it on net. So what, as we must have seen in the movies also, or in our real life experiences also, that people in the rural areas, what they generally do is they connect it to the FM and do all the work throughout the day. So time and along there are certain ads. Also, if you go to a barber shop, so the FM would be turned on. So what that does to the rural woman is it does not involve any cost, but it does provide us an accessibility. So keeping that as a point, that as we all believe that if due to the limited income, the first priority that is given is to the male member of the family to have the net connection, and it's not to the female members. So what we believe that FM is such a channel which is free of cost and is directly accessible to the women. Also, most of the women are using the simple feature phone. So keeping that as in mind, we designed this strategy.
But I would really want you to revisit that to see whether the data that you're presenting here is really what you're presenting. And so I would really request you to look back at that again. But otherwise, a quite a granular presentation. And I think thank you so much for that.
Thank you.
Thank you. It's up to you, Ferushi and Sorul.
Yes, ma'am. So thank you so much, guys, for all the presentations. They were really amazing. I'm sure the judges will have a tough time to figure out the winners. So I now request our judges to move to the breakout rooms to decide on the winners of Sahyog 2022 Sustainability Case Competition.
Chandrika ma'am, Naseem ma'am, the breakout rooms have been open. You may please go ahead and join.
I've joined, but
So guys, OJS, which is our fest, has been working really hard to come up with various interactive events and enriching experiences. So if you like the experience so far of Sahyog or any other event you've been a part of, please vote for us on D2C platform. Go to D2C, the link will be provided on chat. Yeah, it is provided on chat. Go to that and go to D2C and vote for OJS 14 if you like the experience.
Okay, so now that we have the results of Sahyog National Finals, but you won't get it that easily, guys. First, I'll request our judges to please address the audience, give your feedbacks, and after that, we'll go on the much awaited results.
Ask Naseemji first.
I think ma'am has just dropped off. She just rejoined.
Oh, all right. So then I'll take the thing. I mean, if Naseem joins in. So actually, I just want to first of all congratulate each one of the individuals and each team that has participated in this event. Thank you so much for participating in it and making Sahyog what it is. You know, without your participation, this event is actually has no color and has no meaning. You know, engaging with the issues that were put out there, which is on you know, extremely important part of a social issue that's been put out there, malnutrition and anemia. And I think each team came with it from a different perspective. As a panelist, looking at solutions that you were putting out there, I think it stretches your imagination. You know, it makes us think about options and solutions and some of the thought processes that you put out there. So thank you so much for you know, for making these 2.5 hours so engaging and adding to value to you know, this time extremely well spent as far as I'm concerned. I hope you enjoyed it as much as I did. You know, just listening to and engaging with many of you. I don't want to take up too much of time, but I really do want to say thank you to each one of you. I wish I could say it individually, and I wish we were on the campus and we could have welcomed you at SPJIMR and you know, had this conversation face to face. Hopefully, we'll do it some.
So do we have Naseem, ma'am? Did she join back?
Yes, yes.
Yeah, ma'am.
Naseem, ma'am,
So,
if you turn on your video, we can spotlight you, ma'am.
okay, because the connectivity is not good. So I'm just trying to put my video. So thank you for all your great presentations and the as Chandrika ma'am said, your imagination power to pull the solutions, diverse solutions for one single problem. So this is lot of insights I personally got to get into implementation when I'm doing planning of SSP. So yes, we can leverage the resources, the corporate sector, the volunteers, the students, and the local communities to work on this problem. I think nowadays there are the technology use of technology is very like increasing the demand of technology usage, but it's still rural communities are not that much enabled through the technology. So the solutions can be mix of tech plus like reaching out the people through and when we are thinking of behavioral change, we require mixed solution, use of technology and the personal communication and solutions. So I think all the best for all your future planning and future education and I can say when you are planning to work with the NGOs or the corporate sector, you will keep these insights with you to help out community to eradicate the various problems in India, not only the anemia and the malnutrition. Thank you.
Can I just take a minute, Vidushi?
Yeah, sure, ma'am.
Yeah, I just want to thank also SSP. So thank you so much, SSP, for partnering with us on this. Naseem, thank you so much for, you know, on you know, behalf of DOCC, I'm thanking you. And please convey our extreme thanks to Gigi Sebastian also.
Thank you. Thank you.
Thank you so much, ma'am. So I won't take much of your time. I should start with the runners-up first. So we have team, the captivators for the runners-up of Sahyog 2022. Can we please have all the participants of the captivators raise their hand?
Thank you so much. We are glad to have this tag.
Kunal, Yash, if you guys can turn on your video.
Like I'm facing some bandwidth issue, but I really want to thank all the participants and thank all the jury members. And this was a great opportunity for us. And even every other round, what we are part of, like we have learned something which were play a bigger role in the longer journey. So thank you so much.
Congratulations, guys.
All the teams have presented very well. Thank you for giving this opportunity. Thank you so much.
Yeah. So now we move ahead to the winners. And any guesses, guys? All right. So the winners for today are the Halites. Congratulations, team, for being the national winners for Sahyog 2022. We request all the team members to please raise their hands.
Yeah, Ankur, do you have network issues? Could you
Hello.
turn on your video, please?
Hello. Yeah.
Hi, Ankur.
So yeah, thank you so much, team. I would request the whole SPJIMR family. I would be thanking the whole participants and also my team members for giving us this opportunity. And also, I would like to thank the whole Ojas family for executing this event so well. This event took a lot of time. Like we started long back, I guess in December. But yes, so the result has been like in our favor, and I totally delighted, and I don't know what to say. Thank you, everyone.
Thank you, guys. So I congratulate all the winners of Sahyog. Like every year, this year also, we saw the exciting talent and innovative thinking that our Sahyog participants possessed. I wish you all kudos for that. It was our immense pleasure to provide you all with a platform to showcase your talent. I wish you all the best for what I am sure would be an exciting journey ahead.
Thank you so much, guys. I request the judges, winners, and runner-ups to stay back. The rest can leave. Have a great day ahead. All the very best for your future.
Vishwanath, do we have the Google form which they need to fill?
Yeah, before that, could we do the screenshots with the judges and the runners?
Yeah, sure. So, do we need to say cheese or something?
No issues. If you could just get first the captivators to turn on their cameras. Yes, I know you're having some bandwidth issue, but if possible, could you guys turn on your camera?
Naseem ma'am, could you also turn on your video for the picture?
Captivators, Yuti, Yash, Kunal.
Yes, we are here. Yes.
Nice. Could you guys turn on your videos, please? We'd like to take a photo with the judges.
Okay, sure. Yeah. But I actually changed from my formals to normal category. It's fine.
That's okay. If you can aim your camera at just your face.
Yeah, sure. I'll just ask my teammates also 1 second, I think.
Sure. In that case, maybe we can go ahead then with the Halites first. If you.
Yeah, sure. That'll be fine.
Yeah. Rohit, you can go ahead.
Yeah, done.
Thank you so much and congratulations.
Thank you so much.
Captivators, are you ready?
Yes.
Thank you. Kunal and Yash, if possible.
I called Yash, but he didn't pick, I think.
So can you give 2
Okay.
minutes to Yash?
Sure. If possible, can you just call them pretty quickly, because we would like to move the judges to the breakout room to thank them separately.
Yeah.
Yash, are you there?
He's connected on the call, but he's not having his video.
Actually, I just talked to him. He's saying he's having really limited connectivity, so he won't be able to switch on his camera.
Sure. Then let's go ahead with the photo with just you two then. Our apologies, Yash.
Sure.
Hopefully the certificate and prize money will be more than enough compensation. Please go ahead with it.
Yeah, taken. Thank you.
Thank you so much.
Perfect. So winners and runners up, please stay here. We request Chandrika ma'am, Naseem ma'am to move to the breakout room. I've opened them again. Vidushi will
Thank
be
you so
going
much.
with you as well. Thank you so much, ma'am.
Bye-bye.
All right. So runners up and winners, we are just going to be floating a form, a Google form that you need to fill up. That will help us get your bank details so that we can get your prize money to you. So I've just put it in the chat. One member from each team needs to fill it out. That's all. So we expect 2 entries. And once you are, we request you to do it on the call so that we can make sure that everything's been filled out. Once you guys are done filling it out, please just let us know and then you can drop off the call.
Okay.